Welcome to the CSBP Fertilisers Grow Better podcast, sharing knowledge with growers on leading crop nutrition, sustainable agriculture and other issues impacting the agricultural industry.
G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of the CSBP Grow Better podcast. My name is Grey Johnston and I'm delighted to be joined today by Kendall Whyte, who's the founder and CEO of the Blue Tree Project and I think was WA Young Australian of the Year last year, is that right?
That is correct, yes. Hello.
Hello Kendall, look, thanks so much for joining us and we're looking forward to hearing about all those things in the discussion today. The way we normally start our show is to get the guests to introduce themselves and tell us about themselves. So please, you have the floor.
Yeah. So I am Kendall. Yes, I'm the CEO and founder of Blue Tree Project, and I'm sure most people would have seen a blue tree now in their travels. It's pretty hard to miss them in WA. But our mission is to help spark difficult conversations and kick the stigma of mental health that is still very real. And it comes from a story of tragedy, which we will touch on shortly. But a bit more about me. I grew up in Muckenbuden in Central Wheatbelt, so 3.5 hours northeast of Perth. And my parents are still on the farm. I feel very lucky to have grown up in the country. I think it's like a very unique upbringing that brings out certain qualities in people as well. And
what's happening in Muckenbuden? We're recording this a little before the episode's going to come out in line with the Mental Health Week in October. But how's the season shaping up there?
I think sadly in Mucka there are a few people that will be having a bad season, unfortunately, and for many they probably won't even be getting the headers out. So it's really devastating to hear that, especially when so many of them put their heart, soul, blood, sweat and tears into farming. But I'm really hoping that some people will try and find the positives and utilise that extra time over that harvest period to spend with quality time with family, loved ones, maybe something they don't get to do around that time typically.
So a lot of us, Kendall, have, as you say, seen, I'm sure everyone has seen a blue tree. There's sprouting up around the countryside everywhere you go, and every time you go on a trip, it seems like there's more and more of them around the place. Take us back to the start, and how did the Blue Tree Project come about, and what does it mean? So
Blue Tree Project started from tragedy after I lost my brother to suicide in 2018. Jaden decided to paint a tree randomly on our farm at the metal dump of all places. So we spent many afternoons fossicking in the scrap heaps, pretending to drive the old truck shells. And I believe he was cleaning out the workshop, found a tin of paint and thought, what do we do with this? And of all things, snuck out one night and painted this tree blue. Anyway, it was many years. In fact, I actually didn't know about the blue tree until we had lost Jaden. And I think the story was actually shared at his funeral, which then inspired one of his best mates to go out and paint a tree as a bit of a tribute, but also as a way to start the conversation around mental health. And his best mate and my cousin went to fund Biggest Baddest Tree and shared a photo on Facebook once it was completed. I think it took them 2 days. It was 45 degrees. It was just before Christmas, and the photo they shared on Facebook kind of went viral. And before we knew it, we had people posting photos of blue trees in the comments section, and we just saw how it was really resonating with individuals online and thought maybe there's something that we can do here to try and stop other families from experiencing the same kind of pain and loss that we have. And I will be the first to admit that I certainly was part of the privileged minority, I think, who hadn't been touched by suicide until losing my brother. And so when I saw the statistics around suicide and it being the leading cause of death in Australians aged 14 to 45, I was really horrified and just thought there must be something that we can do to try and stop this. So, Blue Tree Project was sort of first born as very much a grassroots movement, very guerrilla style movement that just tried to steer in a particular direction, and then it just kept growing and growing, and I really could never have expected that today we would be a registered charity having an impact right across Australia and now other parts of the world with a blue tree on all continents, but Antarctica.
Not Antarctica.
Not Antarctica, but watch this space. So there's now over 1,000 trees. Actually, it was a couple of weeks ago that we celebrated that milestone of 1,000 registered blue trees as part of the project. So to think how many conversations have arisen from those blue trees, acting as the visual reminders out there for people to check in with a loved one, check in with a mate who's maybe going through a rough time, and checking in on ourselves as well. So I think they're out there acting as those visual reminders, the symbols of hope, and hopefully people are using them to try and start the conversation around mental health, which is something that we just need more of.
So that's a nice summary for those people out there who've been wondering, who may have been wondering what those blue trees are. It's a nice summary of why they're there and how they came about. What is it, maybe more precisely, that your organisation is doing? It sounds like you're keeping a register. Yep. What else is the Blue Tree Project, specifically up to? I know you might have just opened a new premises.
Yeah, so Blue Tree Project works very much within the prevention community engagement space. So, for example, we've just got back from the Darren Field Days. We like to get out, boots on the ground, and get face-to-face with people, especially out in regional areas. It's something we're very passionate about. We also facilitate educational courses and training awareness sessions to help bridge the gap in mental wellbeing, the education around mental wellbeing and emotional intelligence, which a lot of us just weren't taught when we were younger. And yes, we have our new premises, appropriately named the Treehouse, and that is our new base where we can work from. Now I don't have to work from my dining room table or couch, and it's just been a great opportunity to utilise that for training also.
For training
for
other people to provide support? Or
that's correct. So we can facilitate our own courses from the space, but we are also opening up the premises for other organisations and mental health charities to come and utilise the area to either work from or also host their own training. So the idea is that we have very much a collaborative approach. We all play a role in helping build a more mentally healthy future, and so we want to enable as many people to do that as possible.
And so what's the link between the physical blue trees that you see around the place and then actually having those conversations or providing that training and support? How do you see those two things coming together?
Yeah, so we've seen such a wide range of people and organisations painting a blue tree or building a sculpture or a mural, whatever it might be, and people they're making it work in their own environments. And I think what happens is often the blue trees will act as a catalyst for then organisations, schools, universities, golf clubs, whoever it might be, to then take that next step and have those conversations and bring it to the forefront within that community to try and destigmatise a lot of the old attitudes and prejudice that I think we have around mental health. We've grown up with terms like man up, toughen up, she'll be right, eat some concrete, all those ones that you would have heard from years ago, but they're so deeply ingrained in a lot of the old school attitudes, especially out in regional areas, which is why it is so important for us to be getting out into those male-dominated sort of industries and areas to try and help shift the dial a little. Yeah.
And so you mentioned male-dominated there. You see, and I guess the statistics bear out, that suicide's a particular issue for men?
Yes, unfortunately, we do see males as more high risk, and 75% of suicides are made up with males. So I think that comes from those deeply entrenched stoic attitudes that it's weak to speak or being vulnerable is not okay. And so we are seeing a change, we are seeing a shift generally, I think, throughout the generations, but there's certainly a lot more work to be done.
And you talked then about how your hope of the organisation and what you've seen is that blue trees catalyse a conversation. What is it when you talk to people who are inspired to paint the tree, what is it that inspires them to make it happen? Like, I get that they want to catalyse the conversation, but is it generally people who have suffered tragedy themselves, or who've seen it happen in their community, or they just want to make a difference? What is it that moves people to do it?
Yeah, we've experienced quite a wide range. Yeah, I think behind every blue tree lies a story, whether it is one of tragedy, one of hope. It could be that someone has suffered in the past and come through and wanted to show that there is hope, and that if you are struggling, please reach out because you're never alone. Otherwise, there are stories of tragedy of others who have lost, but we're always very mindful in ensuring that the message is around hope. It's not around memorialising with blue trees. It's my brother went out and painted it many years before we lost him, and it was a practical joke. It was done out of love, and so we try and harness that aspect of the story moving forward to encourage as many organisations or school groups, kids, once again, to get involved. So, it's amazing to see how many groups, not-for-profit, sporting clubs, whatever it might be. There's a lot of golf clubs out there with blue trees, each one definitely has their own story.
And is there a protocol that people go to every time they make a tree? Like, is there?
Not particularly. I think most trees that people will see are on private land typically, and therefore they've been able to go out and do whatever they want. However, in saying that, a lot of the town's councils have really jumped on board, helped cut that red tape, and given trees a blue lease on life in quite prominent areas. So it's been really nice to see the project be embraced by so many people.
Very good. I love the blue lease on life. That was lovely. You're full-time as the CEO. Do you have a vision for where the organisation, apart from taking over Antarctica, where the organisation may head in the future?
So there is myself full-time and also my colleague. So there are two of us now full-time in the project, which has really helped with our capacity. Previously, up until a point, it really was me wearing all the hats and trying to juggle everything, which was quite difficult. But now there's two of us. We're covering a lot of ground. We're really focusing on the awareness sessions and the training. I really encourage people to upskill themselves on the topic as a whole, or upskill their workforce, because like I said, emotional intelligence is just not something we were taught when we were younger. It was not really being aware of what it is that we're feeling or why we're feeling that way and what we should do in response to that. And so I think now there's a lot of focus within our youth to try and help build that intelligence, and you're never too young to learn how to be kind to your mind or kind to others. So we're really pushing on the education piece and getting the courses out into regional areas. So very willing to travel. So if anyone's out there who wants to have us come out and visit them, let us know. We're just trying to, get boots on the ground in that sense, have that face-to-face connection if possible, because we think that's how it's best responded to. So that's something that we'll be really focusing on, and we'll also be doing a couple of trips over east next year, as it really sort of is going through a bit of a growth period over there at the moment. 60% of the blue trees are currently here in WA, and so we've got a bit of work to do on the East Coast, but there seems to be a bit of a growth spurge.
Whatever it is, but something about it seems
happening.
seems to capture people's imagination. I mean, as you say, I've been members of clubs where suddenly a note will go around. There's a cohort of members who really see this as a valuable and important thing to do, and they're trying to drive the same conversation.
Absolutely, and I think it's the practical hands-on activity that people can actually get involved with. It's the investment that they get to be involved with. So you bring people together, you get your hands dirty. There's something cathartic about being busy. It also helps with the conversations flowing. We've seen as soon as guys have their hands busy, they're sort of focusing on something else, we find that they're more likely to open up. And so it's just amazing to see how that symbol at the end goes on to then create more and more conversations. We've also had lots of families sort of message through saying they're on road trips and they've seen the blue trees, and it's been a really great time to have that conversation with the kids because you're all locked in the car, you're trapped, there's nowhere to go, and it's been really useful for that also.
Now, as I mentioned before, we're recording this episode so it will come out to align with Mental Health Week, and the theme from the 7th to 14th of October is Mind, Body, Environment. Are there some particular messages that Blue Tree sees or is pushing that are aligned to that theme?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think huge key topics there for everything, and a couple of things that I will touch on. Mind, something that I like to share is for those who may be a little struggling a little out there, please try and do some research around what there is for support, because we quite often find that a lot of people aren't really sure what is around. So I'm big on having an action plan, and I really encourage people to find out what therapists or counsellors, mentors, peers are in their area and almost write that down, because if you were to slip into unhealthy habits, where would you go and who would you speak to? And having that written down is so crucial. If people are struggling, they can sort of refer to it. And body, I mean, we know that looking after ourselves is the best way that we can help look after others. And I think we all know the things that we should be doing to look after our bodies and our mind, but sometimes it can be a little harder. So just, once again, really encouraging people to think about their diets, think about the physical activity, think about the things that help fill up their cup, and doing those activities that bring them joy. Super important. What is it that you do on your weekends to fill up your own cup?
Hang out with my family.
Yeah, nice.
I'm not used to getting asked questions on the show. You stumped me.
See, I love gardening, so I don't know if that's come from the farm. That's great. Probably my country upbringing, but gardening is like something that I do, fill up my cup, and always keep a list of people who I know that I could turn to no matter what was going on. Environment, huge factor in regards to mental health, I think. And the environment that I've grown up in, that many listeners are probably tuning in from, can be quite isolating. So that brings with it a whole other lot of challenges when it comes to maintaining your mental health. So having to be more social and really take that effort to go into town or go and get involved in those social activities, clubs, footy, whatever it might be, super important once again for maintaining mental well-being.
It's really lovely suggestions. Thank you, Kendall. And there's some calls to action in there, and you mentioned before people should get in touch if they're keen to run training or workshops in their own communities. Anything else that you encourage people to jump on board with if they're listening to this podcast?
Just sharing our message in itself. Like, we're quite active on socials. We try and share as much relevant information as possible, very mindful of our country ties, and we share a lot of our events there as well. So follow along and come get involved, come say hi whenever you have the chance. We're always willing to meet new faces as well as old.
Wonderful. And on that bombshell, we will wrap it up there. Thank you all for joining us on another episode of the CSBP Grow Better podcast. Remember, you can follow us at CSBP Fertilisers on all your favourite social platforms, and subscribe, rate and review the podcast. But until next time, I've been Grey Johnston. Thank you so much, Kendall Whyte.
Thank you.
All about the blue tree. That's it from CSBP. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of the CSBP Grow Better podcast. For more information about CSBP, please visit csbp-fertilisers.com.au or connect with us on social media at CSBP Fertilisers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn.